illegal immigration, and now you're changing it up. I'm very surprised you have, because...
Well, you know what's happened, Rick? I'll be honest with you, Rick. What's happened is that most of the callers have brought up illegal immigration when I've had these other subjects on the line. So I wanted to get some of the things about the economy, which I think, as we talked about last week, I think a huge percentage of problems with our economy is illegal immigration. And the problem with that, you might laugh, and I think you think that they're supporting our whole nation because they're the only workers in the world. But the fact of the matter is they cost this nation $1/3 trillion a year. Nationwide, a third. They cost California billions every year, but the whole nation, it's estimated that the costs are about $1/3 trillion a year. And with that money, sir, we could cancel even the massive national debt that Obama's acquired in his short term so far. He's tripled our national debt. But at $1/3 trillion a year, we could cancel that debt in 9 years.
The situation going on right now, or what?
Pardon me?
What are you trying to say?
What's that?
I said, what are you trying to say? That the Hispanics are the ones causing this problem right now?
I didn't say anything about a Hispanic. Did you hear me once say Hispanic? Now, I know, and Rick, and I'm not trying to be offensive here. Let me say something, please. Last week, you told me you're a Mexican. Are you a Mexican or are you American?
I'm a Mexican-American.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm an American, 100% American. I have heritage.
You said you were native.
I'm part native Indian and part European. That's a fact. But the fact of the matter is, I don't call myself...
You are native European. So,
I'm sorry?
I said, you said, are you a native, or are you American, or you European? Why are you?
No, what I just said is I'm an American, 100% American. My heritage goes back to Europe and the North America, where both sides of the family, somewhere in my history, came together. But I don't call myself an Indian, or I don't call myself a European. I call myself an American. There's a big difference.
You just did right now, sir.
No, I said that's where my heritage came from.
Oh.
I said I'm 100% American, but my heritage came. I'm just mine's 57.
Where is that? Okay.
Now here's what I asked you. I asked you, did I say anything about Hispanics when I was talking about how we would save money if we stopped illegal immigration? We talked last week about the fact that about 60% of the illegal immigration are Mexican. There's a smaller percentage of that are South American, Latin American, and then there's probably even a smaller percentage. Right.
American.
Exactly, but they're a lot smaller percentage, sir, than the Mexican people that are coming across the border. But they're not Americans. Well, they're Americans in the sense that they're on this continent, but they're not in the dreamland of the United States. That's why they're coming here.
Americans, to me, are any person here in America, correct? So,
okay, in the sense of the continent, you're right. But we have a tendency to talk about, yeah, you're right, Canadians are Americans as well. So I should start saying United States citizen if that makes you feel more comfortable. But we hadn't talked anything, Rick, you've talked to me several weeks, and I appreciate your calls, don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to offend you at all. But every time we talk, you talk about racial discrimination. And I don't bring up racial discrimination. You think because I'm against illegals coming across my border, and you told me yourself that you would not take an illegal in your home and feed them yourself. So why should we do it as a country?
As well, sir.
Pardon me?
It's my border as well.
Okay.
Like I told you, it's my border as well.
All right.
Say you and I start separating just because I'm Hispanic or whatever.
No, I'm just talking about our conversation. Pardon me?
That's the way it sounded to me, sir.
Every time I talk to you, almost, you make it a racial issue, and it's not. Simple as that. It's not a racial issue. I'm not against Hispanics at all. I grew up with mostly Hispanics. In the neighborhood I grew up in was 50-50.
Well, growing up with it, and what you're saying, a few weeks ago, when you said the amendment of the 14th Amendment.
14th Amendment, yes.
Okay, then can you rephrase me about what you said?
I told you that the 14th Amendment is the part of the amendment to the Constitution that actually gave the right to whoever had birth in this country that child was a citizen, okay? And the reason they did that...
Actually, you said black, you said African Americans.
Okay, no, here's what I said. I said that the reason they did that was because there were a lot of slaves who were brought over here, and they wanted to make sure that their children were citizens, which makes sense. They did it for the slavery trade issue. That's what it was for. It was intended for that. So they just made it a blanket law that every one of those people that were born here were American citizens. So they didn't have to do it individually and all that.
What you said is you wanted it out. You wanted it out. You want that law out.
No, what I said is I think the law is antiquated. I have recordings of all these shows. I can, for verb, we can replay some of that stuff if you want to hear it. But I didn't say I wanted it out. I said I think it's antiquated. I think it either needs modified or, personally, most countries in the world, here's what happens. When you have birth in another country with your children, for a child, usually that child in most countries is a citizen of the country of the parents. That's how it works. Right?
Well,
now wait a minute before you say, well, if I go to Mexico and my wife has a baby, are you telling me that that child is automatically a Mexican citizen?
well,
No, because if I go to Mexico and I'm not a citizen down there and I go there illegally, I don't even have any constitution rights at all, less than a dog on the street.
That's something that you got to deal with the Mexican embassy. Because you know what? I have no understanding of it.
Oh, I'm telling you, that's the law down there. In fact, Mexican president actually, we had an interview on the show probably a month and a half ago. He says that directly. At one statement, he's saying that he thinks the Arizona issues with the illegal aliens is a racial one, and then in the very next statement, well, not the very next statement, but in his interview, he's asked what happens if somebody comes from south of his border, can they get a job if they don't come with the right papers? And he says, no, we deport them. There is and they have no rights.
Okay.
So come on, call the kettle black, whatever you want to do, but listen to me, Rick, just for a second. The fact of the matter is, if you want to preach something, you better live it. Don't come up here from another country and tell me we're doing things wrong because your guys are free in your own country.
That I point something wrong. Whenever I ever said that, what